Jimmy and Joanne, we're about to begin this week's episode of Unseen Libya. How are you both doing tonight?
Very good.
We're doing good
Very
tonight.
good.
Thanks, Jason.
It's lovely to have you back, and there's really a lot going on in Libya. There has been for the past several weeks. We speak about it each week. This is a great show because it's really laser beam focused on this topic, and it's a topic that almost nobody else is talking about.
That's true. That's true because the news doesn't pick it up. They don't want anybody to know what's going on. They would rather just have it in the background. It's not anything. Libya is going to take their country back from the NATO invasion. The General Clark, when he told us we're going to take over 7 countries, they were one of them. And when they do that, that is a notice to all the other countries that have been blown up that, hey, you can take your country back. You don't have to live under this whatever puppet government that was installed to control your country and steal your assets.
But Jason, I can tell you, internationally, Libya is on the front page of everybody's what's going on list because the fact that it was, for all practical purposes, gifted to Muslim Brotherhood and Al Qaeda, and all the riches of the country were stolen by the U.S., UN, and NATO. And we're talking not a little theft, but 500 billion in cash and cash equivalents, 179 tons of gold, 2,000 tons of silver. And that was all done in the first week of the phony revolution. So, the bad guys literally used Libyan money to blow the country up, $1 trillion worth of damage. And we're now hearing that there are 3 million Libyans living outside of Libya because of all the warring and everything that's been going on. But the Libyans are taking it back, and it's the Libyan army doing it. And
that's
outside,
the Libyan people.
Yeah, that's Libyan people. And outside of Libya, we've got all the deep state operatives and all the countries that were involved in the destruction of Libya. They were all trying to negotiate their piece of Libya. And the Libyan army had nothing to do with them. They wouldn't involve themselves in negotiations. And so the Libyan army, in spite of all the influence from outside, they have all but taken their country back. I think Joanne's told me they're 99%.
There's a map. That's my latest article. You have my website up there, Libyan War of the Truth. And that map, Jason, the red part is controlled by the Libyan people, the Libyan National Army. The yellow part is what the puppet government that was never elected. That is it. If you scroll down if you open the article and scroll down, the map is posted below it too. Just click on the blue, scroll all the way down, you'll see the map. Then you can click, I think maybe, see the yellow part? That's all that the Muslim
But that's
Brotherhood
the ports of
controls
entry, I would presume.
Yep, that's what they're trying to keep, but they're going to lose it. They're losing it right now. In fact, that article you sent me today about the Turkey using the lasers to shoot down a drone.
Yeah.
It says, even in that article, it says, doesn't matter what Turkey has, they're going to lose Libya because they're losing it right now.
And where that laser outfit supposedly was located was in the port of Misrata. That's where the Turks have their staging areas. And those were just bombed to oblivion in the last hour. In fact,
that's Matiga.
Tripoli. Matiga. What did I say?
You said
it is
Matiga.
Matiga?
Yeah, it's Matiga.
Oh, okay. First time I ever remember making a mistake.
Right. Well, remembering is the key. The reason I sent you guys that article was that, we've been talking a lot about Erdogan and the aggression that he's exerting there in North Africa and the Middle East, and how, you guys told me that Turkey was becoming a military technology powerhouse, developing their own drones. And this article here is talking about how Turkey made military history by being the first country to utilize a laser to shoot down an enemy vehicle in combat. That's pretty substantial.
Yeah, well, I think you better talk to the people at Paradise Valley in California, because they pretty well got zapped by a bunch of lasers,
Well, but not in combat, I think. But you raise a good point, Jimmy. I mean, we talk about this sort of stuff, and people think that we're, conspiracy theorists and nuts or whatever. But Lockheed Martin has on their own website a entire section dedicated to directed energy weapons, and they show us that, directed
Russian speeder stuff.
Yeah.
Russia's a big
Russia's
leader.
got them, and Lockheed has had weapons mounted on aircraft for years and years and years. They first of all had them mounted on ships, and as they reduced the size and
Right.
increased the intensity, they began to install them on aircraft. They've done all kinds of testing, so it's been around a long time.
Right. But here we see it used in theater for the first time, and it's coming from Erdogan. Now, I mean, again,
Yeah.
whether or not that's actually significant, it's got to make him feel very significant. It's a historic technological war-making breakthrough, and it's happening under his presidency. This is a pretty significant development. I'm curious
Yeah.
to
Well,
hear.
I
and
would
we
guess.
should.
I would guess. Yeah.
Well,
I
we
would
should
have a guess,
mention,
Jason,
sorry to
that it's-
interrupt, but it's been,
No problem.
I'm remiss in not mentioning that we'll be joined later by one of our
Yeah, that's
very
right.
favorite guests, now retired Virginia State Senator Richard Black.
Yeah.
Yes, we're
And
looking forward
incidentally,
to.
he is contemporary on everything that's going on in Syria and Libya. That guy is amazing. He's the best. He's well versed internationally, more so than any politician I've ever met.
If anybody
He
should
stays
be
on
head,
top of
yeah,
it.
if anybody should be head of the Joint Chiefs, it should
Yeah.
be Senator Black,
Yeah.
Richard Black, U.S. Marine. He was head of JAG at the Pentagon. He
Right.
is a wonderful man who speaks in truths and is not. I hesitate to call him even a politician because he's more of a statesman.
Yeah, he's a
And
man's man.
He's a great man, and he's going to speak tonight about Turkey's aggression against Syria and Libya. And we're going to talk about that too. The Libyans have sent their legitimate government that was elected, that's in Tobruk, sent a delegation to Syria, and they have reopened diplomatic ties with Syria. They're going to start working against these mercenaries that have been traveling back and forth, and these weapons that have been traveling back and forth, affecting both countries.
Yeah. And for people who are maybe not familiar with Senator Black, he is the statesman who traveled to Syria to meet with Bashar Assad and to try to diffuse tensions through diplomacy. This is really what we want our politicians to be doing, not just launching bombs and missiles because a bunch of idiots in white helmets tell us that some gas attack has occurred. So I have tremendous respect for Senator Black, as I know you both do. So we're going to be really honored to have him join us again when we begin our sponsor exclusive segment at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. People who aren't yet sponsors of Crowdsource the Truth or Jimmy and Joanne can join us in just about 20 minutes on patreon.com/James and Joanne Moriarty or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. It's actually very important that we have these venues in which we can present this kind of information because just like so many of the guests that I have on Crowdsource the Truth, Jimmy and Joanne, you guys raise topics on the show each week that are topics that the mainstream news specifically does not want to be addressed. They have an agenda that they're pushing out, and it seems quite clear from the historical performance of some of this information that's been removed from the internet that YouTube and Facebook and some of these other venues that people see as free are very aggressive about removing this material.
Oh yeah, it's all controlled. What you see, you're fed what they want you to see.
Well, one thing I want everybody to understand tonight, Joanne received it's been less than 30 minutes ago now, a few films. They're very, very short about the Libyan army blowing up a whole bunch of Turkish platform operations in Libya, probably where they launched their laser weapons from. Those were aggressively attacked. And their drones, and the videos that were sent to us it happened 12 minutes before we received them. So this is very, very contemporary information directly from the Libyan army to us about what's happening on the ground in Libya and the successes they're having in annihilating the Turkish aggressor in their own country. And God bless them, because Turkey has a huge, huge budget for military and everything. Libya has been sanctioned from any funds for their military since 2011. So, very, very contemporary information, and nobody will hear about this anyplace else.
Okay,
So if
and
they
I've
really want
just,
to know what's
sorry to
going on,
interrupt you, Jimmy,
yeah.
but you guys have sent me a video that includes some audio of, this is literally 30 minutes old, and I just wanted to
Right.
play this for everybody because I could see the look on Joanne's face as I was just testing this out. Tell us where this brings you back to.
Oh, listen, if they can hear the bombing, this is where we lived and breathed in 2011 in Tripoli. This happened in Tripoli almost every night, and sometimes in the morning, and sometimes during the day. And there was one big bombing that was very close to the Radisson Hotel that we were in at the time, and everybody went outside to see where it was and then came back in, but people were crying and children were crying, and the hotel manager was crying, tears rolling down his cheeks. He said, why?
Wow.
Why are they destroying our country?
Yeah.
Why? They destroyed hotels, they destroyed roads, they destroyed water supplies, everything. They've constantly bombed.
But this is the Libyan army, the good guys, bombing the Turkish invaders, and it looks like they nearly annihilated the platform operations that Turkey had in the Tiga, right?
Yeah, it's Tiga Airport.
That's the old U.S. Wheeless Air Force Base.
Yeah, that's the only airport Tripoli has because the militias blew up their international airport about 4 years ago.
Guy Wilson is telling us that an Argentinian commander stated several years ago that he shot down a UFO while stationed in Africa using a laser. I don't know.
Could have been.
Well, what I was going to say, Jason, is lasers may have been used in all kinds of areas that nobody ever reports.
Right.
Maybe that this may be a report they want to get out for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, Turkey wants you to know that they have a laser because they are a country that's not as militarily strong as the United States. So just like Sun Tzu says, you want the enemy to think you're strong when you're weak and think you're weak when you're strong. So if you have some top secret super laser, that makes you pretty strong. You might not want people to know about it, so you could just zap them and they have no idea what's going on. But if you're Erdogan and you like saber rattling and threatening people and doing all kinds of stuff like that, you could understand why you want people to know you have a laser and it's bigger than your laser.
Yeah, that's right.
Jason, I'd like to see running on the bottom of every monitor, every TV set, just a graph that's a lie detector, and it detects the stress levels and everybody of whoever's speaking.
Right.
And I'm sure every politician I've ever heard of, except Senator Black, they'd have their graph in the bottom in the toilet on all of them. But Erdogan, I put him right in there. I don't think you can believe anything he says,
Yes, I'm with you on that. And, I mean, aside from being a war hero and an accomplished lawyer, as you said, he was part of the judge advocate group. He was the head of that. He's just an incredibly smart guy, and he's as nice as can be. It's just such a rare treat to meet someone who has this type of experience and of this stature, who's just a kind person. So I wish we had more people like Senator Black in our government, and as you guys have suggested, I wish President Trump would make Senator Black part of his cabinet.
Yeah, it would be wonderful if he would.
He never voted for a tax raise ever. And he defended that position. He's been a war hero. He's got Purple Hearts. He ran 270 something sorties in Vietnam, and after he finished that, he went back and went on the ground and continued to fight. He is an absolute war hero and a wonderful guy. And then he studied law.
His law practice was it's centered around immunity and people that have been falsely accused of something and should be pardoned. Mm-hmm. And he is an expert in that. And he wrote a letter to Donald Trump about General Flynn and how he should be pardoned.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the other thing is, we should mention is if you have a snake that needs to be caught, he's your man.
There you go.
He is a lover of snakes.
Oof.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting to hear from the senator. He is, as you said, right on top of all of this information. A lot of Turkish aggression in Libya. Now, in Syria, there's something very important going on right there. And while everybody is talking about, first impeachment and now the coronavirus, it doesn't seem like an adequate amount of attention is being paid to what's going on in this extremely strategic, extremely disrupted region of the world.
Yeah, Erdogan, because he wanted NATO to join in his fight in Syria, and they refused. They turned him down. They said, this does not fall under our rules of whatever. You're in a foreign country aggressively.
You're the invader.
You're the invader.
It's not your country.
He didn't read the fine print.
Yeah, he was angry about that, so he opened all his borders. And he's encouraging all these mercenaries to go into Europe, and so Greece closed their border. And I just read today that there's like 13,000 immigrants trying to get into Greece. That's why they closed their border.
He had, in Turkey, there were 3.5 million Syrian refugees from the fighting, the areas that were blown up. And they were invited into Turkey at the behest of the U.S. and others. And so after a while, he started demanding that the payments to Turkey be increased because all these refugees were costing so much money. Those, I think, are the refugees, along with a bunch of his mercenaries that he's planning to flood Europe with. He's threatening them with that, and he's opened his borders to affect that. So he's a bad guy. He's absolutely bad.
But Donald Trump meets with him and speaks with him, right? I mean,
Trump came out and said today that they stand beside Turkey and all their NATO allies, that it's not correct for Russia or the Syrian army to bomb the Turkish army.
What the hell is he doing?
I don't know, but that doesn't even make any sense. If a country's invading you, you can defend yourself.
Yeah. I don't know if President Trump is paying adequate attention to what is going on in Turkey or Syria. And again, I mean, the Senator Black, wrote a letter to President Trump that seems to have been ignored.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Trump is really in control, Jason. I mean, he's got to know better than this. If he knows no better than this, then he doesn't deserve to be in that office. But I think he doesn't have any control. He's being told what to do, and I think that the majority of everybody in Washington D.C. is exerting so much pressure on him that he is required to do what he's told to do.
I really don't think any president in the last
50, 60 years
has been in charge, really. I think they're run by the bureaucrats, by the deep state, and that's what needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah. As Dr. Corsi said, Barr needs to be absolutely thrown out on his ear.
I agree.
And how Barr was ever appointed is a conundrum.
Corsi said today he's deep state. He needs to be thrown out immediately.
I'm thankful that the doctor's finally listening to what I've been saying, since he used to get upset when I criticized Mr. Barr, but I haven't trusted him from the second he came on the scene.
He's angry today.
Oh, yeah.
You should have seen his tweet. He was angry.
I got to call Dr. Corsi. But, we're just about out of time here on YouTube, and we always like to do these previews to let everybody know that we've got our sponsor-exclusive show coming up at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on patreon.com/James and Joanne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Before we close out here, though, I just want to say that the other thing that I'm really looking forward to asking Senator Black about are his feelings about the recent announcement that Andrew McCabe will not be prosecuted for lying to Congress, or lying to the FBI.
That's what Corsi's angry about. That's one of the things.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Senator Black might be angry as well, because people may not realize that McCabe's wife, Dr. Jill McCabe, was vying for Senator Black's state Senate seat there in Virginia. And we definitely want to ask Senator Black if he is at all aware of Andrew McCabe allegedly attending some Democratic ball, some sort of dinner with Terry McAuliffe. Obviously, Senator Black is a Republican, but perhaps he knows something about this. Very sketchy goings-on with regard to Andrew McCabe and Senator Black's trip to Syria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I do want to just take a minute, and I want to thank everybody on your YouTube channel. A lot of them that were not supporters on Patreon But if your audience doesn't know it, in fact, 37 months ago, there was an attempt to assassinate Joanne in Dallas. And they were going to launch her over a 3-story hole, and she would have landed on a rail, landing on a lot of furniture and everything in the food court in a mall. And Joanne grabbed a hold of the rail, hung onto it literally for her life, and her head slammed into the rail. She broke 2 teeth and loosened 2 teeth on the other side. All we were able to afford to do at the time was pull the broken teeth, and then the other side got infected. So Joanne has not had a bite service for over 3 years, and we've got a wonderful dentist in Dallas that's helping us. And I want to thank everybody out there that has made it possible for us to affect this. Joanne has been 3 years without the ability to chew the food.
I didn't know that's how that happened. How were you?
Yeah,
it was an
we're going to have to talk about this on
We
Patreon.
can talk about it later. We'll tell you.
But I want to thank everybody, because we're going to Dallas. They're going to the dentist is going to start to prepare the prosthetic device tomorrow. So God bless everybody.
Going to Dallas tomorrow. We're not telegraphing where you're going to be.
Well, yeah, okay.
Anyway,
Someplace.
We'll see everybody. We'll see everybody in just a few minutes on Patreon and Subscribestar. Definitely looking forward to this conversation with Senator Black. So much going on in the Middle East and North Africa, between Turkey, Libya, Syria. This is a big deal. So we'll see everybody in just 10 minutes. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Jason.